They sealed their fate before the party.
If sarcasm was a tool, I'd be on the FBI's most wanted list by now. But sitting here at this faculty club table, nursing my third whiskey and watching my wife Julia grind against Brent Kowalski like they're auditioning for a porno, I'm thinking maybe it's time to upgrade my arsenal. The annual fundraising bash, Julia's baby, her chance to shine among the university elite while I play the supportive husband role. Except tonight, I'm playing a different game entirely. "Did you get the room?" Julia whispers to Brent as they sway to some jazz number that probably costs more per minute than I make in a day teaching high school history. "Yeah, room 322 at the Riverside Inn," Brent responds, his meaty hands sliding lower on her back. "You sure about this? I already put something in Eli's drink. He'll be out cold within an hour. Then we can finally be together without sneaking around." My temper should be boiling. My heart should be breaking. Instead, I'm calculating. Because 3 hours ago, I found Julia's laptop open to an email thread that would make a divorce lawyer weep tears of joy. And because I've been married to this woman for 8 years, I know her tells. The way she bites her lower lip when she lies, how she touches her earring when she's nervous, the little laugh she does when she thinks she's outsmarted someone. Tonight, Julia Madsen is about to learn that her husband isn't as stupid as she thinks. I watch them separate, Julia heading to the ladies' room, Brent swaggering to the bar for another beer. This is my moment. The moment I've been planning since I read those emails about slipping Eli the melatonin and getting him on video in a compromising position for insurance. The drinks sit unattended on their table. Mine, doctored with whatever cocktail of sleep aids my loving wife prepared. His, innocent as a lamb. I stand, stretched like I'm working out a kink in my back, and execute the smoothest drink swap in the history of marital warfare. "Eli!" Lydia Chen, Julia's best friend and fellow conspirator, appears beside me like a guilt-ridden ghost. "Having fun at the party?" "Oh, you know me, Lydia. I'm always the life of the party." I gesture toward where Julia and Brent are reuniting. "Just watching my wife enjoy herself." Lydia's face goes pale. She knows. Of course she knows. According to those emails, she's been covering for Julia's afternoon meetings for months. "Maybe you should take it easy on the drinking tonight," she suggests weakly. "Funny you should say that." I raise my glass in a mock toast. "To marriage, and to getting exactly what you deserve." Brent downs his beer in 3 long gulps. Julia watches him with the satisfied smile of a woman who thinks she's just pulled off the crime of the century. I check my watch. If the melatonin dosage in those emails is accurate, he's got about 15 minutes before he starts feeling drowsy, 20 before he's unconscious. Except Julia used enough to knock out a man my size, and Brent Kowalski, used car dealer extraordinaire, is about 50 pounds heavier than me and has the constitution of someone who's spent his adult life drinking cheap beer and eating gas station hot dogs. The jazz band launches into something upbeat. Julia drags Brent onto the dance floor for what she thinks will be their last dance as secret lovers. Tomorrow, she planned to be a grieving widow, whose husband died tragically in his sleep from an undiagnosed heart condition. The insurance money would set her and Brent up nicely. Instead, she's about to become something much more interesting. Brent stumbles first. Just a little misstep that Julia laughs off. Then his face goes gray, and sweat starts beading on his forehead. Julia's smile falters as he grabs her shoulder for support. "Brent, are you okay?" He opens his mouth to answer, but what comes out isn't words. It's the sound of a man whose body is shutting down in the most unpleasant way possible. He doubles over, retching violently onto the polished dance floor. The music stops. Conversations halt mid-sentence. Everyone turns to stare as Brent Kowalski, the man who sells honest deals to honest people, writhes on the ground like he's been poisoned, which, technically, he has been. "Call emergency!" Julia screams, dropping to her knees beside him. Her performance is Oscar-worthy. The concerned friend, the innocent bystander. If I didn't know better, I'd almost believe she cared. I pull out my phone, dialing emergency services while discreetly snapping photos of the scene. Evidence. Always collect evidence. Emergency. What's your emergency? We need an ambulance at the university faculty club. A man has collapsed. He's vomiting and appears to be having some kind of seizure. Convulsions are getting worse. Foam bubbles from his lips as his body fights the overdose of sleep medication. Julia holds his head, tears streaming down her face, playing the role of her life. "Stay with me, Brent," she whispers. "Please don't leave me." Paramedics arrive within minutes. As they work on Brent, loading him onto a stretcher, Julia turns to me with wild eyes. "I need to go to the hospital," she says. "Of course," I reply. "He's our friend. We should both go." But Julia shakes her head. "No, you should go home. You've been drinking, and you look tired. I'll call you with updates." How thoughtful. She wants me to go home alone, so she can play the devoted friend at Brent's bedside. Maybe even slip him something else to finish the job. Actually, I think I'll follow you there. I'm more awake than I've been in months. The look she gives me could melt steel. But she can't argue without seeming suspicious. So she nods and follows the ambulance out into the night. I take my time leaving, making sure to chat with other faculty members about how shocking this all is. How you never know when tragedy might strike. I'm establishing my alibi, my character, the concerned husband, the good friend, the man who definitely didn't see this coming. By the time I get home, Julia's already there, pacing the living room like a caged animal. Her carefully applied makeup is smeared, her elegant dress wrinkled. "How's Brent?" I ask, hanging up my jacket. "They're running tests. They don't know what caused it." She studies my face. "You don't seem very worried. Should I be? I mean, these things happen. Heart attacks, strokes. Brent's not exactly in peak physical condition. It wasn't a heart attack." "How do you know?" She freezes. Because she knows exactly what it was. And she knows because she's the one who caused it. Except, she thinks she caused it to happen to me. The doctor said his symptoms were consistent with some kind of poisoning. Poisoning? That's terrible. Who would want to poison Brent? Julia stares at me for a long moment. I can see the gears turning in her head, trying to figure out how her perfect plan went so wrong. Then her expression changes, hardening into something ugly and desperate. "You did this." "I'm sorry?" "You poisoned him. You found out about us and you poisoned him." I laugh. Actually laugh. "Julia, that's insane. How would I even know about you and Brent? You've been so careful, so discreet. Don't lie to me, Eli. I know you know." She walks to our bedroom and I follow, curious to see how far she's willing to take this. She goes straight to our closet safe, the one where we keep important documents and the .38 Colt I bought after a break-in 2 years ago. Her hands shake as she enters the combination. I left it unlocked. The tool feels heavy in her hands as she turns to face me. This is the moment of truth. The moment when my loving wife of 8 years points a loaded tool at my chest and shows me exactly who she really is. "You're going to tell me what you did to Brent." "I didn't do anything to Brent, but I have a pretty good idea what happened to him." "What are you talking about?" I pull out my phone and open the photos I took earlier. Julia's face goes white as she sees herself kneeling beside Brent's convulsing body. See, the thing about poisoning someone is that you really need to make sure you're poisoning the right person. Otherwise, you might accidentally dose your boyfriend with enough melatonin to put down a horse. The tool wavers in her grip. "You switched the drinks. I switched the drinks. You bastard. You could have ended him. Me? I didn't put anything in anyone's drink. That was all you, sweetheart. I just made sure the right person got the surprise you prepared." She raises the tool higher, pointing it at my face. Her finger tightens on the trigger, and for a moment, I wonder if I've miscalculated. If 8 years of marriage taught me anything about Julia Madsen, it should have taught me that she's capable of anything when cornered. "Julia," I keep my voice calm, reasonable. "Think about what you're doing. The neighbors probably heard you screaming. If you shoot me now, how are you going to explain it? I'll tell them you attacked me, that you admitted to poisoning Brent and threatened to end me too. With what evidence? My hands are clean, literally and figuratively. But yours? Your fingerprints are all over that melatonin bottle in your purse. The same purse the police will search when they investigate Brent's poisoning." Relinquicks. She blinks. She hadn't thought about the bottle. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" "Check your purse, Julia. See if the bottle is still there." She doesn't need to check. I can see in her eyes that she knows I'm right. The bottle is there, with her fingerprints all over it, because she never thought she'd need to worry about covering her tracks. You set me up. No, I just didn't let you set me up. There's a difference. The sirens fills the air outside our house. Julia's head snaps toward the window, and in that moment of distraction, I move. Not to attack her, but to step aside, because I know what's about to happen. The tool goes off. The bullet punches through the drywall behind where I was standing, leaving a hole the size of a quarter. Julia stares at the smoking tool in her hands, like she can't believe what just happened. The sirens get louder. Car doors slam. Heavy footsteps on our front porch. Police! Open up! Julia looks at me, then at the tool, then at the hole in the wall. The reality of her situation is finally sinking in. What have you done? She whispers. Me? I haven't done anything. You're the one who just fired a tool in a residential neighborhood. You're the one who poisoned your boyfriend. You're the one who's been planning to homicide your husband for insurance money. Rattles under heavy knocking. This is the police. Open the door now. I walk calmly to the front door and open it. 2 officers stand on my porch, hands resting on their service tools. Evening, officers. I'm Eli Madsen. I believe someone called about loud noises. Are you injured, sir? No, I'm fine. My wife had a bit too much to drink at a party tonight. She got upset about a friend's medical emergency and lost control. The tool went off accidentally. Behind me, Julia makes a sound like a wounded animal. But she doesn't contradict my story. She can't. Because any other version of events leads to questions she can't answer. The officers separate us, taking statements. I'm calm, cooperative, concerned about my wife's mental state. Julia is hysterical, ranting about poisoning and switched drinks and conspiracies. She sounds exactly like what she is, a drunk woman having a breakdown. By the time they leave, Julia has been taken for psychological evaluation, and I'm alone in my house with a bullet hole in the bedroom wall and a phone full of evidence that's going to make the divorce proceedings very interesting indeed. I pour myself a drink. A real drink this time, not one doctored with sleeping pills. As I sit in my living room, surrounded by the debris of my marriage, I can't help but smile. The anniversary party is over, but the real celebration is just beginning. The next morning arrives with the kind of crystalline clarity that only comes after a storm. Julia spent the night in psychiatric hold at Mercy General, the same hospital where Brent is recovering from his accidental overdose. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm grading papers at the kitchen table when my phone rings. Tony Castellano, my oldest friend and former police detective, sounds amused. So I hear you had an exciting evening. Word travels fast. Domestic disturbance calls involving firearms tend to make the rounds. You okay? Never better. You free for coffee? Give me 20 minutes. Tony shows up with 2 cups from Murphy's Diner and the kind of grin that means he's already heard the whole story from his contacts in the department. Julia really tried to shoot you? Threaten me. The tool going off was more hysteria than homicide. I show him the bullet hole. Though I suppose the end result would have been the same if I hadn't moved. Jesus, Eli, what the heck happened to your marriage? I hand him Julia's laptop, already open to the email thread that started this whole mess. Tony reads in silence, his expression growing darker with each message. She was planning to end you. Sedate me unconscious and film me in compromising positions with someone else. The ending part was just a bonus if the blackmail didn't work. And you switched the drinks. I switched the drinks. Tony leans back in his chair, studying me like I'm a suspect he can't quite figure out. You know this makes you look guilty as heck, right? Premeditated revenge poisoning? Except I didn't poison anyone. Julia did that all by herself. I just made sure she poisoned the right person. The DA might see it differently. The DA is going to see a woman who accidentally overdosed her boyfriend while trying to incapacitate her husband for blackmail purposes. Julia's fingerprints are on the melatonin bottle. Julia bought the substances. Julia administered them. The only thing I did was make sure I didn't drink from the wrong glass. Tony nods slowly. You've thought this through. I've had time to think. So what's your next move? I pull out my phone and show him the photos from last night. Julia crying over Brent's convulsing body. The chaos at the faculty club. the timestamp showing exactly when everything happened. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of woman my wife really is. Elect. She tried to destroy me, Tony. She was going to knock me out, frame me, blackmail me, and probably end me when she got tired of the game. You think I should just let that slide? I think you should be careful. Revenge has a way of biting you in the A. This isn't revenge. This is justice. Stands to leave. Just remember, brother, when you're playing in the mud with pigs, everyone gets dirty. After he leaves, I drive to the hospital. Visiting hours don't start for another hour, but I know the staff, and they know me as Julia's concerned husband. Getting into Brent's room is easier than it should be. He's awake, staring at the ceiling with the hollow eyes of a man who's just had his mortality shoved down his throat. The monitors beep steadily, tracking vitals that came dangerously close to flatline 12 hours ago. Hello, Brent. He turns his head slowly, like movement causes him pain. When he sees me, something flickers in his eyes. Fear, maybe, or guilt. Eli, I didn't expect to see you here. Really? My wife's boyfriend nearly dies, and you don't think I'd come check on him? His face goes pale. I don't know what you're talking about. 322 at the Riverside Inn. Ring any bells? Brent closes his eyes. How long have you known? Long enough. I sit down in the visitor's chair, making myself comfortable. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What do you want? I want you to understand something very clearly. Last night, my wife tried to knock me out so she could frame me for adultery and blackmail me for money. Instead, she accidentally nearly ended you. Do you know why that happened, Brent? He doesn't answer. It happened because you were stupid enough to get involved with a woman who sees people as tools. You were her tool for getting rid of me. And when tools break, you throw them away. She loves me. I laugh. Actually laugh. She loves the idea of you. The insurance money for my death. The life she thought she could build on my grave. But you? You're just another mark in a used car lot. Brent's monitors start beeping faster. His blood pressure is rising. You need to leave. I need to make sure you understand the situation. Julia is going to be charged with attempted poisoning, maybe attempted homicide, depending on how the DA feels about premeditation. You can be a witness for the prosecution, or you can be a co-conspirator. Your choice. I didn't know she was going to knock you out. Married. You knew she was planning to leave me. You knew about the insurance policies and the blackmail photos. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending you were an innocent bystander. I stand up and walk to the door, then turn back. Oh, and Brent, if you ever come near my wife again, I'll make sure the next drink you get has a lot more than melatonin in it. Crimson. The drive to Julia's office takes 15 minutes through downtown traffic. The university administration building is buzzing with gossip about last night's incident. Julia's assistant, a nervous young woman named Rebecca, looks like she's been crying. Is Mrs. Madsen okay? She asks. She's getting the help she needs. I'm here to collect some of her personal items. Texting. Julia's office is exactly what you'd expect from someone who spends other people's money for a living. Expensive furniture, tasteful art, family photos that tell a story of happiness that never existed. I'm not here for sentiment, though. I'm here for evidence. Her desk drawer is locked, but I have her keys. Inside, I find what I'm looking for. A second phone. The one she used to communicate with Brent when she didn't want me seeing the messages. The text history is a goldmine. Months of planning, scheming, plotting my downfall. Photos of hotel rooms, discussions about life insurance policies, and most damning of all, detailed plans for sedating me and staging compromising photos. We'll give him the melatonin around 9 p.m., one message reads. By 10, he'll be unconscious. Lydia will bring her camera, and we'll stage the photos in our bedroom. Once we have the pictures, we can demand whatever we want. Another message from just last week. If the blackmail doesn't work, we might have to consider more permanent solutions. I've been researching substances that could mimic a heart attack, something that won't show up in an autopsy. I photograph every message, every photo, every piece of evidence that shows Julia's true nature. Then, I put the phone back exactly where I found it and lock the drawer. As I'm leaving, I run into Lydia in the hallway. She looks like she hasn't slept. her usually perfect appearance disheveled and anxious. "Eli, how is Julia?" "She's where she belongs." Manslaughter. What's that supposed to mean? It means she's getting exactly what she deserves for trying to harm her husband. Lydia's face goes white. Harm? That's ridiculous. Julia would never. Julia would never what? Knock someone out? Frame them for adultery? Plan their death for insurance money? Because I have evidence that she was planning to do all three. You're lying. Pilgrimage. I pull out my phone and show her one of the text messages. Her own name is mentioned in the conversation about staging photos. Still think I'm lying? Lang stares at the screen, her hands shaking. I didn't know she was going to hurt you. I thought it was just about getting evidence for a divorce. Evidence for a divorce that would leave her with everything and me with nothing. Evidence that would destroy my reputation and my career. Evidence that would make me look like an adulterer and a deadbeat. I'm sorry, Eli. I really am. Sorry doesn't fix anything, Lydia, but staying away from me and my business might keep you out of prison. I leave her standing in the hallway, staring at her phone like it might explode. She's a small player in this game, but she's still a player, and players have consequences. My last stop is the Riverside Inn, the cheap motel where Julia and Brent conducted their affair. The desk clerk, a bored-looking man in his 50s, barely looks up when I walk in. I need to ask about room 322. You a cop? I'm the husband. That gets his attention. He looks me up and down, probably trying to figure out if I'm here for violence or just information. Your wife and that guy, they've been coming here for months. Always paid cash, always used fake names. But I knew something was up. How's that? She asked a lot of questions about our security cameras, about who else might be staying in nearby rooms. Like she was planning something. What kind of questions? Whether the cameras recorded audio, whether we kept the footage, whether we had any guests who might be willing to testify about what they saw or heard. More evidence of Julia's planning. She wasn't just having an affair. She was setting up an elaborate frame job. You willing to make a statement about that? The clerk shrugs. For the right price. How about for the right prosecutor? Because this is going to be a criminal case, and witness tampering is a felony. His attitude changes quickly. I'll tell the truth, whatever that is. The truth is that my wife was using your motel to plan a crime. The truth is that she was gathering information to blackmail and possibly homicide her husband. The truth is that you're now a witness in an attempted homicide case. I leave him with my business card and a warning to keep his mouth shut until the police contact him. The last thing I need is gossip contaminating the evidence. As I drive home, my phone rings. It's the hospital. Mr. Madsen, this is Dr. Patterson. Your wife is asking to see you. Is she under arrest? Not yet, but there are officers here waiting to question her. She says she won't talk to anyone until she speaks with you first. Tell her I'll be there in an hour. I'm not going to rush to Julia's bedside like a concerned husband. I'm going to take my time, get my thoughts in order, and prepare for what might be my wife's last attempt to manipulate me. Because if there's one thing I've learned about Julia Madsen, it's that she never stops playing the game, even when she's already lost. The psychiatric ward at Mercy General smells like disinfectant and desperation. Julia sits in a small consultation room, wearing hospital scrubs and the kind of hollow expression that comes from spending a night in restraints. She looks up when I enter, and for a moment, I see a flicker of the woman I married 8 years ago. Then she opens her mouth, and the illusion shatters. Thank God you're here. You have to get me out of this place. I sit down across from her, separated by a metal table that's bolted to the floor. Everything in this room is designed to prevent violence, which seems appropriate given the circumstances. How are you feeling, Julia? How do you think I'm feeling? They have me locked up like a criminal. They won't let me see Brent. They won't tell me anything about his condition. Brent is going to live. No thanks to you. Her face hardens. I didn't do anything to Brent. You put enough melatonin in that drink to end a horse. That drink was meant for you. The words hang in the air between us like a confession. Julia realizes what she's just admitted, but it's too late to take it back. So you were trying to knock me out. I was trying to make you sleep so we could have an honest conversation about our marriage. An honest conversation that involved blackmail photos and life insurance policies? Julia's eyes narrow. You've been reading my emails. I've been protecting myself from my wife's homicide plot. I wasn't going to homicide you, Eli. I was going to give you a choice. Sign the divorce papers and walk away with nothing, or have your career destroyed by photos of you with another woman. Photos you were going to stage while I was unconscious. Photos that would have been very convincing. Lean back in my chair, studying this woman I thought I knew. And if I refused both options? Julia doesn't answer, but she doesn't need to. We both know what the third option was. The police are going to charge you with attempted homicide. They can't prove intent. They can prove you bought the substances. They can prove you put them in the drink. They can prove you were planning to blackmail me. And they can prove you've been researching compounds that mimic heart attacks on your computer. Julia's face goes pale. She hadn't considered that her internet history would be evidence. You can't testify against me. Spousal privilege. Spousal privilege doesn't cover attempted homicide. And it doesn't cover the evidence you left all over your laptop, your phone, and your office. What do you want, Eli? I want you to understand that your life as you knew it is over. Your job is gone. Your reputation is destroyed. Your boyfriend nearly died because of your stupidity. And your husband knows exactly what kind of monster you really are. I'm not a monster. I'm a woman who wanted out of a dead marriage. You're a woman who tried to homicide her husband for money. Julia stands up suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. I gave you the best years of my life. I supported your pathetic career, put up with your sarcasm, pretended to be happy in your boring little world. I deserved better than what you gave me. You deserved exactly what you got. A faithful husband, a comfortable life, and the chance to build something real together. Instead, you chose to throw it all away for a used car salesman and an insurance payout. Armstrong, Brent loves me. Ragaz, Zaman, Brent loves the idea of easy money, just like you loved the idea of being a wealthy widow. Julia sits back down, her anger deflating into something that looks almost like despair. What happens now? Rejects. Now you face the consequences of your choices. You'll be charged with attempted poisoning, conspiracy to commit fraud, and probably attempted homicide. You'll go to trial, and you'll lose, because the evidence against you is overwhelming. And you'll testify against me. I'll tell the truth. Whether that helps or hurts you depends on how much of the truth you want the jury to hear. Rem. Remendo stares at the table for a long moment. When she looks up, there's something different in her eyes. Not remorse exactly, but a kind of calculating resignation. What if I plead guilty? Take a deal. It's between you and your lawyer. Would you ask the prosecutor to go easy on me? For old time's sake? Slamming up to leave. Julia, you tried to homicide me. There's no old time's sake anymore. As I reach the door, she calls out one last time. I really did love you, you know. At the beginning, I turn back to look at her. This woman who shared my bed and my dreams and my trust for 8 years. No, you didn't. You loved the idea of me. The security, the respectability, the cover story. But you never loved me. Because if you had, you wouldn't have been able to do what you did. And you? Did you ever love me? I loved who I thought you were. But that person never existed, did she? Affirmed. Julia doesn't answer, and I don't wait for one. I walk out of the psychiatric ward and into the bright afternoon sunshine, feeling lighter than I have in months. My phone buzzes with a text message. It's from Tony. Brent Kowalski just got arrested. Conspiracy charges. Thought you'd want to know. Menstrual. As I get into my car. The dominoes are starting to fall exactly as they should. But I'm not done yet. Not even close. The drive to Brent's used car lot takes me through the part of town where dreams go to die. Cheap apartments, check-cashing stores, and businesses that exist primarily to separate desperate people from what little money they have left. Kowalski's auto sales fits right in. The lot is full of cars that look good from a distance, but fall apart under close inspection. Just like their owner. Brent's not here, obviously, but his business partner, a greasy little man named Eddie, is happy to talk. Especially when I mention that I might be interested in buying a car. Brent's going to be out for a while, Eddie explains as we walk among the vehicles. Some kind of medical emergency. but I can make you a deal on anything you see. What kind of medical emergency? Seizing. Food poisoning, I think. Real bad. He's in the hospital. Marshall. I nod sympathetically. That's terrible. I hope he recovers quickly. Yeah, well, between you and me, Brent's been under a lot of stress lately. Money problems, woman problems, you know how it is. Problems? Eden leans in conspiratorially. He's been messing around with some married woman. Rich lady from the university. I told him it was going to end badly, but he wouldn't listen. Married women can be dangerous. This one especially. She's been calling here all hours, demanding money, making threats. Real psycho behavior. I pretend to examine a Honda Civic while Eddie continues his gossip. According to him, Julia has been pressuring Brent for months about leaving his wife, demanding expensive gifts and talking about big plans for their future together. She kept saying they were going to come into some money soon, Eddie explains. Something about an insurance settlement. I figured it was BS, but Brent believed every word. Sounds like he got in over his head, way over his head. And now look where it got him. I buy a cheap watch from Eddie's collection of previously owned jewelry and leave him with the impression that I might be back for a car later. What I really leave with is confirmation that Julia and Brent's conspiracy was common knowledge among his associates. More evidence, more witnesses, more nails in Julia's coffin. My next stop is the Rusty Tap, the dive bar where Brent apparently spent most of his evenings when he wasn't with Julia. The bartender, a tough-looking woman in her 40s, recognizes Brent's name immediately. That a-hole owes me money, she says, wiping down glasses with practiced efficiency. Ran up a tab last week and never paid it. He's in the hospital. Good. Maybe he'll learn some responsibility. I order a beer and let her talk. Bartenders are natural gossips, and this one has plenty to say about Brent Kowalski and his married girlfriend. She came in here once, looking for him. Real uppity type, you know? Designer clothes, expensive purse, talking down to everyone like we're dirt. I told Brent she was trouble, but men don't listen when they're thinking with the wrong head. What kind of trouble? The kind that gets you ended. She was talking crazy stuff about her husband, about how he was going to have an accident soon. Made my skin crawl. Whose name is Maya, agrees to write down what she remembers about Julia's visit. It's not much, but it's another piece of the puzzle, another witness to Julia's state of mind. As I'm leaving the bar, my phone rings. It's Detective Harper from the local police. Mr. Madsen, we need you to come down to the station. We have some questions about last night. Am I under arrest? No, sir. We just need to clarify a few details about your statement. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The police station is exactly what you'd expect from a small college town. Clean, efficient, and staffed by people who deal more with drunk students than serious crimes. Detective Harper is a heavy-set man in his 50s who looks like he's seen enough human stupidity to last several lifetimes. Mr. Madsen, thank you for coming in. I want to go over your statement from last night. Of course. You said your wife had been drinking at the faculty party. That's correct. And you said she became upset about a friend's medical emergency. Brent Kowalski's collapse, yes. What's your relationship with Mr. Kowalski? I wouldn't say we have a relationship. He's an acquaintance of my wife's. Detective Harper makes a note. How long has your wife known Mr. Kowalski? You'd have to ask her that. I'm asking you. I lean back in my chair, considering my answer carefully. Detective, I think there are some things about my wife that I'm only beginning to understand. Such as... I pull out my phone and show him the photos from Julia's secret device. The text messages, the emails, the evidence of months of planning and conspiracy. Detective Harper's expression doesn't change as he scrolls through the evidence, but I can see his opinion of the case shifting in real time. Mr. Madsen, are you telling me that your wife was planning to knock you out? I'm telling you that my wife was planning to do a lot more than that. And you switched the drinks. I made sure I didn't drink from the wrong glass. That's a very fine distinction. It's the difference between self-defense and assault. Detective Harper closes my phone and hands it back. We're going to need copies of all this evidence. I figured you would. And we're going to need you to testify when this goes to trial. I figured that too. Mr. Madsen, I have to ask. Did you know what was in your wife's drink when you switched them? I knew it wasn't supposed to be in my drink. That's not what I asked. I meet his eyes steadily. Detective, my wife tried to homicide me. If Brent Kowalski got a taste of his own medicine in the process, that's not my fault. Harper nods slowly. Just so we're clear, you're not claiming self-defense? I'm not claiming anything. I'm just telling you what happened. And what happened was that you prevented your wife from sedating you by making sure she sedated her boyfriend instead. What happened was that Julia's plan backfired because she underestimated her husband. Detective Harper stands up, signaling the end of the interview. We'll be in touch, Mr. Madsen. Don't leave town. I'm not going anywhere, Detective. This is my home. As I drive back to my empty house, I can't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The pieces are falling into place exactly as they should. Julia is facing serious criminal charges. Brent is ruined both personally and professionally. Their conspiracy has been exposed, their reputations destroyed, but I'm not finished yet. There's still one more move to make, one final act in this drama of betrayal and consequences. The real revenge isn't what I've done to them. It's what I'm about to do to myself. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in my lawyer's office, signing the last of the divorce papers. Julia is still in jail, denied bail after the prosecutor convinced the judge that she was a flight risk. Brent is out on his own recognizance, but his business is finished, his reputation destroyed. The settlement is more generous than she deserves, my attorney, Patricia Wells, observes as I initial each page. I can afford to be generous. Even after she tried to end you? Especially because she tried to end you. Patricia has been my lawyer for 5 years, handling everything from my will to a property dispute with a neighbor. She's smart, thorough, and completely baffled by my approach to this divorce. Eli, you have enough evidence to leave Julia with nothing. Why are you giving her half the house? Half the savings, half of everything? Plunge and lean back in my chair. Because I want everyone to see exactly what kind of man I am compared to what kind of woman she is. I don't understand. Julia tried to destroy me for money. My Trillia, she has nothing leaders on direction. Julia tried to destroy me for money. She was willing to knock me out, blackmail me, possibly end me, all for financial gain. And now, after everything she's done, I'm still treating her fairly in the divorce. What does that say about our respective characters? Patricia nods slowly. It makes you look like a saint and her look like a monster. Exactly. But you're giving up a lot of money. Money I can earn back. Reputation is harder to rebuild. Don't need Julia's money. I don't need the house or the savings or any of the material things we accumulated during our marriage. What I need is for everyone to understand the difference between us. When this divorce becomes public record, when the local newspaper covers the story, when my colleagues and neighbors and students learn what happened, they're going to see a clear contrast. Julia Madsen, who tried to homicide her husband for money, and Eli Madsen, who treated his would-be butcher fairly, even after she destroyed their marriage. It's the perfect revenge. I get to be the victim and the hero simultaneously. There's one more thing, Patricia says, pulling out another document. The restraining order. I don't want a restraining order. Eli, she tried to end you, and now everyone knows it. A restraining order makes me look weak, like I'm afraid of her. I'm not afraid of Julia. I'm disappointed in her. Patricia shakes her head but doesn't argue further. She's learned that I have my own way of handling things. As I leave her office, my phone buzzes with a text from Tony. Brent's trial date is set. 6 months from now. You ready for this? Blinded. Text back. I've been ready since the night she pulled the tool. The next few months pass in a blur of depositions, interviews, and media attention. The story of the professor's wife who tried to poison her husband for his life insurance has captured the local imagination. Julia's trial is scheduled first, since her charges are more serious. I testify for 3 hours, calmly and methodically laying out the evidence of Julia's conspiracy. The prosecutor, a sharp young woman named Sarah Chen, walks me through every email, every text message, every piece of evidence that shows Julia's intent to commit homicide. Mr. Madsen, she asks during direct examination, when you realized your wife had sedated your drink, what went through your mind? I thought about how much I had trusted her, and how completely she had betrayed that trust. Did you consider confronting her directly? Flirting, I considered it. But I realized that if I confronted her, she would just deny everything and try again later. I needed to protect myself. So you switched the drinks. I made sure I didn't drink the sedated beverage, yes. Did you intend for Mr. Kowalski to be harmed? I intended for whoever was supposed to drink that spiked cocktail to experience the consequences of their actions. G's defense attorney, a public defender who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else, tries to paint me as a calculating sociopath who deliberately poisoned an innocent man. But the evidence is overwhelming, and my calm demeanor contrasts sharply with Julia's emotional outbursts from the defendant's table. Mr. Madsen, the defense attorney asks during cross-examination, isn't it true that you could have simply poured out the sedated drink instead of giving it to Mr. Kowalski? I could have done a lot of things. I could have called the police. I could have confronted my wife publicly. I could have filed for divorce immediately. But all of those options would have allowed Julia to claim that I was lying, that I was making up stories to hurt her. By letting her plan proceed with a small modification, I ensured that her true nature would be revealed. So you used Mr. Kowalski as a test subject for your wife's poison, unfairly. I used Mr. Kowalski as a recipient of the consequences he and my wife had planned for me. Staffing. The jury deliberates for less than 2 hours. Julia is convicted on all counts: attempted homicide, conspiracy to commit fraud, and aggravated assault. She's sentenced to 15 years in prison. Brent's trial is almost anticlimactic. Faced with overwhelming evidence and Julia's testimony implicating him as a co-conspirator, he pleads guilty to conspiracy charges and receives 5 years. The day after Brent's sentencing, I'm cleaning out Julia's things from our house when I find something I hadn't seen before: a journal, hidden in the back of her closet behind a box of old shoes. The entries go back 2 years, chronicling her growing resentment toward me and her fantasies about what life would be like if I were gone. The final entry, dated the day before the faculty party, is particularly illuminating. Glenn, tomorrow night, everything changes. Eli thinks he's so smart, so superior, always making his little jokes and acting like he knows better than everyone else. Well, we'll see how smart he is when he wakes up in a hotel room with photos that will destroy his precious reputation. And if he doesn't cooperate, if he tries to fight us, then we'll move to Plan B. Brent says it will look like a heart attack. No one will ever suspect anything. I'll be the grieving widow, and he'll be just another middle-aged man who died too young. Either way, I win. In prison. I photograph the journal pages and add them to my evidence file, though they're no longer needed for any legal proceedings. They're just confirmation of what I already knew. Julia never loved me. She saw me as an obstacle to be removed, a problem to be solved. But she made one crucial mistake. She underestimated her husband. 6 months after Julia's conviction, I'm approached by a publisher who wants me to write a book about the experience. Betrayal and Justice, a professor's fight for truth, becomes a bestseller, earning me more money than I made in 5 years of teaching. The book tour takes me to 20 cities, where I tell my story to audiences who see me as a hero, a man who turned his wife's betrayal into a triumph of justice over evil. I'm invited to speak at conferences about domestic violence, about trust in marriage, about the psychology of betrayal. I become exactly what Julia never thought I could be: successful, respected, and famous. A year after the trials, I run into Lydia at a coffee shop downtown. She looks older, worn down by the scandal that destroyed her career at the university. She's working as a secretary now, her dreams of academic administration buried under the weight of her association with Julia's crimes. "Hello, Eli," lined. Lydia sits down across from me without being invited, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee like it's the only warm thing in her world. "I want you to know that I'm sorry. For everything. I know you are. I never thought she would actually try to hurt you. I thought it was just about getting evidence for a divorce. Rims. Dismissal. That would have destroyed my career and my reputation. I know. I was stupid. I let her convince me that you were a bad husband, that you deserved what was happening." I study Lydia's face, looking for signs of deception, but all I see is genuine remorse. She's paid a heavy price for her part in Julia's conspiracy, losing her job, her reputation, and her future in academia. What are you going to do now? Breached. I don't know. Start over somewhere else, I guess. Try to rebuild my life. That's what we all have to do, isn't it? Figure out how to move forward after betrayal. Lydia nods, tears forming in her eyes. Do you think you'll ever forgive her? Julia, I mean? Forgiveness isn't about Julia. It's about me. And I don't need to forgive her to move on with my life. Imprisonment. But don't you hate her for what she did to you? I consider the question carefully. I don't hate Julia. I pity her. She had everything she needed for a good life, and she threw it all away for a fantasy. She's going to spend the next 15 years in prison, thinking about what she lost and what she could have had. That's punishment enough. Lydia finishes her coffee and stands to leave. For what it's worth, Eli, I think you're a better person than any of us deserved. After she's gone, I sit in the coffee shop for another hour, thinking about forgiveness and justice, and the strange turns life can take. Julia tried to destroy me, but instead, she made me stronger. She tried to take everything from me, but instead, she gave me a story that changed my life. The ultimate irony is that Julia got exactly what she wanted, just not the way she planned it. She wanted to be married to a successful, wealthy, respected man. And now, in a sense, she is. I'm all of those things, thanks to her betrayal. She just can't enjoy any of it from her prison cell. 2 years after the trials, I'm remarried to a woman named Sarah, a fellow teacher who knew my story before she knew me. Our wedding is small, intimate, attended by people who understand that trust is precious and betrayal is devastating. On our honeymoon, Sarah asks me if I ever think about Julia, if I ever wonder what might have happened if I hadn't switched those drinks that night. Sometimes, I admit, but not the way you might think. What do you mean? I don't wonder what would have happened if I'd been a better husband, or if I'd paid more attention to the signs, or if I'd tried harder to save our marriage. I wonder what would have happened if Julia had been a better person, if she'd been capable of love instead of manipulation, loyalty instead of betrayal. And I realized that she wasn't. She never was. The woman I thought I married never existed. Julia showed me who she really was that night at the faculty party, and in a strange way, I'm grateful for that knowledge. Sarah takes my hand as we walk along the beach, the sunset painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Do you think she ever regrets what she did? I think she regrets getting caught. I don't think she regrets trying to destroy me. That's the difference between remorse and self-pity. And you? Do you regret anything? I think about the question as we walk back toward our hotel. Do I regret switching those drinks? Do I regret the months of investigation and evidence gathering? Do I regret the trials and the media attention and the book that made me famous? I regret that it was necessary, I finally answer. I regret that the woman I loved turned out to be someone who could plan my homicide. But I don't regret protecting myself. And I don't regret making sure she faced the consequences of her actions. Even though those consequences destroyed her life, she destroyed her own life the moment she decided to betray me. I just made sure everyone could see what she had done. That night, as Sarah sleeps beside me in our hotel bed, I think about the anniversary party that started it all. Julia's plan was perfect in its way. Knock out the husband, stage the photos, demand money or compliance. If I had been a different kind of man, it might have worked. But Julia made one fatal error in her calculations. She assumed I was weak, that I would be a passive victim of her schemes. She never considered the possibility that her mild-mannered history teacher husband might be capable of turning her own tools against her. She learned too late that the quiet ones are often the most dangerous. Not because we're violent or cruel, but because we're patient. We watch, we listen, we plan. And when the time comes to act, we don't hesitate. Julia wanted to play a game of betrayal and manipulation. She just never realized that I was better at it than she was. The anniversary party was supposed to be the beginning of my downfall. Instead, it became the first chapter of my triumph. And the best part? Julia will have 14 more years in prison to think about how completely she underestimated the man she tried to destroy. Some lessons are worth the price of learning them. Others cost you everything you thought you wanted. Julia learned the difference too late, but I learned it just in time.